Zhipu AI just released GLM 5V Turbo, and the reason it matters has nothing to do with another benchmark win, but it has everything to do with why turning a design into working code still takes longer than it should, and why that's about to change. Every AI tool that can process images is still secretly doing text in its head first. ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini, they all work the same way. They look at an image, generate an internal description of it, then write code from that description. From visual to language, and only after that to code. There's a translation step hidden inside every one of them. And that translation step is why your output never looks like the image. Here's what's different, how it works, and what it means for every developer using AI to build today. Hey, I'm the digital character of Ed Hill. I keep you up to date on the latest AI news. Let's get into it. Before anything else, here's what this model actually does. Because the concrete examples matter more than any explanation. You take a screenshot of any website, drop it in. You get the full working code back, reproducing that page. Not approximately. Accurately enough that you can't tell the difference. You draw a rough UI sketch on paper. Take a photo. You get a functional single file application back. No Figma, no prompt, a photo of pen on paper. You record a short video walkthrough of a competitor's app. The model watches the footage and generates code that replicates the UI structure, the layout logic, and the interaction patterns. A working prototype from a screen recording. You upload a PDF or a document layout. The model reads the visual structure, not just the text, and generates code that handles that exact format. That's not a list of features. That's a different category of tool. And to understand why it works when everything else doesn't, you need to know what's happening inside the model. Let's start with the problem nobody actually names. Every AI coding tool you've used operates on text. You describe what you want, the AI writes code from your description. That loop works, but it has a ceiling. The ceiling is this. Description is lossy. When you tell an AI, build me a dashboard, clean, modern, sidebar navigation. The AI is imagining what you mean. You're translating something you can see into words, feeding those words to a model, and then spending time fixing the gap between what you described and what you actually wanted. That gap costs hours every week. And most people have just accepted it as part of the process. When those models see an image, they generate an internal text description first. Then they write code from that. Every translation loses something. A color becomes a shade of blue. A spacing relationship becomes generous white space. You think the AI is looking at what you see, but it's reading its own description of it. GLM 5V Turbo removes that middle step entirely. Before I get into what this signals, if you want to stay on top of releases like this and understand how to actually implement them, that's what AI Space is for. 100 people in there building real things with these tools. Links in the description. There's a benchmark called Design2 Code. Give the model a screenshot of a UI, measure how accurately it reproduces it as working code. Not roughly similar, pixel faithful. GLM 5V Turbo scored 94.8. Claude Opus 4.6 scored 77.3. That's a 17-point gap. At 94, you put the original design and the AI output side by side, and your colleague can't tell which one was the source. The reason is how the model was built. Most vision-capable models are two-stage. Train a language model first, then bolt on a vision encoder. The model's core reasoning was built without visual context, and that never fully disappears. GLM 5V Turbo was trained from scratch with visual and textual data together, in the same weights, in the same forward pass, using an architecture called Cogvity, a vision encoder that isn't attached to the model. It's woven into it. Think of someone who learned to code first and then picked up design later. They're always translating between two systems. Now think about someone who studied both from day one. No seam, they see a design and the code structure is already there. That's the difference. And a 17-point gap on Design2 Code is what it looks like in practice. Now here's the part most people covering this release are completely missing. And it's the most useful thing in this video. GLM 5V Turbo doesn't replace Claude Code. It makes Claude Code more powerful by giving it something it's never had: eyes. Claude Code is an orchestrator. It plans, writes to files, runs terminal commands, navigates your code base. Exceptional at all of that. But it operates on text. When you need to match a Figma file or fix a rendering issue from a screenshot, Claude Code is working from your description of the visual. It's guessing at what you are seeing. GLM 5V Turbo plugs in as the visual layer. It looks at your design, your screenshot, your recorded video, and converts that directly into code instructions without going through a text description first. Claude Code executes. You stop describing what you see. You start showing it. This is why the model was built specifically around deep integration with Claude Code and OpenClaw, not as a standalone product. On the GUI automation side, the benchmarks confirmed the same thing. GLM 5V Turbo leads on Android World and Web Voyager. 2 tests where the model navigates real interfaces, clicks buttons, fills forms, finds elements, based purely on what's visible on screen, not describe interfaces, actual screenshots of live software. That's the layer of computing that text-only AI has never reliably touched. Here's what this signals for where AI tools are going. Every major lab has been building powerful text models and then attaching vision as a second layer. It works, but there's always a seam. The model thinks in language first. GLM 5V Turbo shows what happens when you build with vision from the ground up. Not incrementally better, different in kind. Same pattern as DeepSeek, not bigger, built differently. The gains came from the architecture, not the scale. DeepSeek changed what efficiency looked like in language. GLM 5V Turbo is doing the same thing for the visual layer. The practical implication is this. Right now, the bottleneck in AI-assisted development is the handoff between what you can see and what the AI can understand. Figma to code, screenshot to fix, video to prototype. Every one of those handoffs currently requires you to describe the visual in words. Turbo removes that requirement across the board. The developers who build this into their workflow now are the ones who stop spending hours on that translation layer, they just show it. That's the kind of shift we dig into inside AI space. Not the announcement, the actual workflow change. What to implement this week, what to watch in 6 months, how these tools fit together. 100 people in there right now. Real conversations, real implementations, no surface level takes. If you are serious about staying ahead of this, rather than just watching it happen. Link is in the description. See you in the next one.